We got Nigel O'Neill here as well.
Oh, fantastic.
We got
Nigel O'Neill,
Francie,
everybody.
so... Oh, these lights are
Thanks very much for being here.
Yeah,
They're quite strong. The spotlight's on you, lads. I want to let the audience know as well, we have 2 roaming mics, so just raise your hand and we'll bring the mic to you so you can ask the lads a question. I just want to start off with one of my own. First, congrats again on a brilliant film, hilarious. And I totally get the appeal of wanting to do like a big screen adaptation of, Irish myth like Abertac. But it's a very specific vision that you guys had going back even to the short of like the construction crew and the vampire. Like, where did that come from?
The construction crew, it kind of just came from wanting to do a film about a bunch of workmen in Tyrone fighting vampires. Like that was literally the genesis of it. It was like, wouldn't it be funny to see these guys who should not be fighting vampires treating that like they were doing overtime? Just being really fucked off with having to do this. Like, you know what I mean? That was kind of the original idea. Like,
yeah. And when you're doing something like, again, vampires, there's been so many iterations as well. Like, and you're trying to adapt to classic myth. Like, is it keeping it fresh? Was that always on your mind when you were writing the script?
Well, yeah. Whenever we started researching the script, we came across the legend of Abertac and dug into that research and thought that's a great way to do something that feels very kind of authentic to here, to Ireland, and to kind of reclaim the vampire myth in a way for Ireland, for ourselves. And digging into the Abertac myth, we thought there was great stuff in there. But then on top of that, we sort of, we used it as a jumping off point, basically, and added our own stuff to it within the kind of world of 6 Mile Hill and the movie.
Yeah, which is brilliant. And you mentioned at the start in the intro that this was, 8 years more in the making altogether. Maybe as producer, Brendan, you want to tell us about the long road?
Oh, yeah. It's like Chris kind of mentioned in the intro. Like, we made a short film in 2012, and we had a feature script at that point. So the short was really like a kind of our way of packaging the feature, if that's if you understand that. So we were trying to put together a package that way and get it out there and see who would take it up. So it does take time to make these sorts of films, but we found great co-production partners in Blinder Films, and we just kind of, I think, with the unique take on the Abertac myth, plus the way Chris's way into the world with the characters, with the likes of Eugene and Francie and that father-son relationship, it just kind of was, I think, appealing. And I think, people saw that and realized that, and they kind of leaned into it a bit. So, it did take time, but it landed with people who wanted to see it, and here we are.
Yeah, which is fantastic. I wanted to pick up on the father-son thing, actually.
Yeah.
Nigel, it was, even though this is a monster movie, it was really, that was all at the heart of it, is Eugene and Francie.
To me, that's what's interesting about it. Even though all the fun bits is all good crack, but to me, the whole relationship with the father and the son, the way it starts at the start, the grumpiness and the Francie, and the way they're at each other all the time, and then we get to learn why this happens gradually, and then the way they come together at the end. It's a lovely arch of the way the character moves, and it was really fun to play with Jack. Jack's great.
Yeah, and getting to come back to the character as well after the short. That must have been nice after, several years.
It was great to get so much more other things to do, and the short was just a condensed version of it, and all the more characters, the characters are all fleshed out, and the way Francie interacts with all the different characters and all that. So that was all good crack too.
Yeah, it looked like. I want to give you guys a chance to ask questions. We have a couple over here. I'll start with the guy behind you, and then we'll come up to you. Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of shots just in general, and the one you have coming out of the house into the Jeep and then out the back was just a lot of fun to watch. One, what went into that, and two, how long did it take?
Oh, the oneer that went into the Jeep. It took 7 takes. It was basically we built the camera way down to just a tiny box, and then the DOP followed the guys as they ran out and jumped into the Land Rover, and then we had the window open, and then the DOP passed off the camera into a camera operator who was lying on his back and kind of just held it like that and moved it back, and then the DOP, while that was happening inside, he ran around the back and then lifted the camera and took it out the back. So it was kind of two different camera operators kind of passing off. Basically, it took like 7 takes. I think it was fun. It took a while to get it, like, but I think we got it on take 7. And when we got it, we were really happy because they were fed up running. Really, there was a lot of sweat at the end of that take. Like, yeah.
Was there a part 2 to that? Sorry.
I just want to ask, the soundtrack, you really nailed it, but I just wonder, like, you seriously nailed every soundtrack, I thought, for every scene in the film, but I just wondered, was it much thought every scene when you saw it, that every song to go with it?
Well, here's how that works, right? At the start of production, Brendan tells me we have no money for songs. Yeah. And then me and Brian, the editor, who's sitting in the back there, we sit and we cut it, and then we put all these songs, and then he sees it, and we're like, well, look how well they work. Go and figure out how to get them. And we had a great music supervisor, Planet of Sound, who actually managed to get us all those songs. I mean, you know, I wanted to have Hit the Diff in it, like, you couldn't, you know, it just had to be in there, like, so it was a bit, but, you know, I'm kind of joking around, but when we were cutting together, we did put a lot of songs in that were like, I guess, wish list kind of thing. But then as the cut came together, it was like, well, this is kind of the identity of the film. Like, this feeds it. This is what these guys would be listening to. And Francie's listening to the kind of old kind rock and roll, and Eugene and the guys are listening to kind of Rory Gallagher and that sort of stuff. So it just felt like it worked for the identity of the movie. And then Brendan and the music supervisors were actually able to make it happen, you know, within the budget. So we were lucky that way.
That brilliant scene, like, come on everybody, and the pole, like, that just looked like it must have been the most crack.
Shooting that scene? Yeah, no, shooting that scene. I mean, we shot that scene over like 3 nights because we were shooting it in up outside Belfast in like a wind tunnel. That mountain was just a wind tunnel, and we got stormed off on like the first night we were shooting that big sort of sequence outside. So we had to shoot it over 3 nights and come back to it. And it was kind of a nightmare logistically, but it was really fun to shoot. And then when I went to Dublin after I'd shot, like a week after I'd shot, and Brian, the editor, had put together the first assembly, he had actually dropped that song in over that sequence. That was never intended.
Oh, no way.
But it was just like, that's great. That works so well. So it's like, it just kind of, you know, speaks to the collaborative nature of filmmaking, and, you know, people bring their ideas in, you know, at all stages of the game, like, and it is one of the most fun scenes in the film, like, and it was just an idea that Brian had and showed me in the first assembly, and it's like, well, we're keeping that. Benny, go find the money for Come On Everybody, you know.
Is it very expensive? Good. We'll take another question. Shoot your hand up. Yeah, over here.
Of course. Hi, I'm interested to know, like, what did you find as the biggest challenge while making this film? Was it, like, the special effects, or was it the development of character for Eugene and Francis? I thought it was great as a film, but I'm interested to know, what did you find was the biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge in making it was probably just the logistics of doing a movie with these kinds of effects and these kinds of sequences outside at night in Northern Ireland on a very low budget. So it was challenging, but we just planned it to the hilt. Like, we storyboard everything, we previs everything as much as we can, and just kind of do lots of rehearsals, and, you know, just try to plan it to the hilt so that whenever we actually get on set, whenever we do get rained off a set, or, you know, rained off a location, we kind of have something in the bag that we can go and do. So it was a challenge and shoot, but there was never any point where we're like, oh my God, what have we done? Kind of thing. Like, you know, we kind of think about that way ahead of time when we're writing the script and go like, all right, we know this is going to be hard, but we know we can do it, kind of thing, you know.
And how did that compare to your first feature that you guys all did together, Bad Day for the Cut?
Well, we learned so much on Bad Day for the Cut in terms of just working with Nigel, like me and Nigel working together as actor and director, and, you know, writing the character of Francie specifically for Nigel, and knowing how well he would deliver that Tyrone grumpy dad dialogue. And then, again, in terms of the logistics and stunts and effects and all that kind of stuff, like, we learned a lot in Bad Day for the Cut. Again, that was much lower budget than this, but so whenever it came to actually, you know, redrafting the script of Boys from County Hell and actually getting into production, we're like, all right, we know what we can do and we know what we can't do, what we need to take out, and what we can keep, and so
Yeah.
it's like a stepping up kind of process. You do one and it's a certain budget, and then you go to the next one and you're like, all right, this is a little bit bigger, and we know we can do a little bit more, but let's not go crazy. Let's not think that we can make a Marvel movie or something for like 2.5.
Maybe for number 3.
Yeah.
So, Nigel, like whatever these lads bring you in the future, is it just an automatic yes after doing 2 features already?
Oh, aye. Anytime in the ring, it's just, yes, what do you want? No, we've built up a relationship over the years, and since we worked on the short, we've done other projects together as well, and we're just sort of all friends now, and we know we're just sort of part of a team, and I'm very lucky to be in a load of their films, and it's been great. It's been a great ride for me all the time. So I love working with Chris and Benny, and it's just easy. We just have it just seems to gel. You just need there's a chemistry, and it just works. That sort of thing. So they're great characters. The characters are brilliant, and I never thought when I was young that I would see a character up on the big screen from would sound like where we're from.
Yeah.
And that type of character, the character like Francie and all that. These are characters that I see all the time, and I'd have met people like that, grumpy hooers like Francie, that sort of thing. So no, it's been great. It's great. It's been a great ride. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see that chemistry on the screen, right? Do we want to squeeze in a last question? Yeah, back over here.
Hi again. Just inquiring about casting. You pretty nailed the casting stage. Obviously, had one big, fairly, and himself casting wise. But I just wondering, how would you nail the casting? Was it just top of your head? You saw him from other shows or films, or just pick him top of your head from casting from yourself? Or
no, like the only person from the top of my head was Nigel. Like we always knew Nigel was going to be Francie. Like Nigel was Francie, and we saw Nigel in a movie called Behold the Lamb like 10 years ago. And whenever me and Brendan saw that, we're like, well, that's Francie. There, he has the look and he has the Tyrone accent, and he's a great actor. So, but then the casting process for this was just very obsessive in terms of seeing lots of people, seeing lots of different actors, like just going through the usual casting process, and then seeing them together and doing chemistry reads and all that kind of thing. It was just like a normal kind of casting process, but I'm pretty obsessive about it. Like I'll see lots of people and kind of, go over it and over it and over it. I mean, the one, like Jack, who plays Eugene, actually came into we did a session in London, and Jack came in, and he's from England, he's from London, and he came into the room, and he was like, oh, yeah. And my grandfather is from Northern Ireland. I was like, oh, cool, where's he from? He's like, oh, he's from Tyrone. Oh, really? What part of Tyrone? Oh, he's from Coke. That's where Nigel's from. And then you actually knew his grandfather. And then so he nailed the accent, but more importantly, he nailed the performance. Like his first, like we cast Jack off the first read. We're like, well, that's our guy. Like, and then Louisa came in, and we knew her from Dairy Girls, obviously, and her read was amazing. And then like it just was a process for finding the rest of the guys. Like. And John Lynch I'd worked with John before, and we just offered him the role because we thought he'd be great. But yeah.
Great. And Louisa's also from Dublin, right? That's not her accent.
Nope,
either?
she's from Dublin. Yeah.
That's cool. That's good to know. Last question. Anyone want to go for it? Yeah, right here.
Thanks. That was a great film. Just like for our next project, do you have any idea of another legend to do, like the Banshee or something like that?
We don't know yet. We know that we're gonna do we'll probably we haven't got it figured out yet, but we'll definitely do one more Tyrone film. So it'll be like a Tyrone trilogy. All we know is it'll be set in Tyrone. Nigel will be in it. That's all I know at the minute.
I think we were thinking of like a working title of Once Upon a Time in Tyrone. So that might be it. So no. And I just want 1 second to say just thanks to Brian, our editor, who's here as well, and our composer, Steve Lynch. So they're part of the whole team. So thanks to them too.
Sadly, we have to clear the park by 11. Them's the rules. But once again, Nigel O'Neill, Chris Baugh, Brendan Mullin, the boys from County Hell, everybody, thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.